What is going on, everyone? My name's Andy and welcome to another FPL video. Today we're looking towards Game Week 23, having a quick look back at Game Week 22 and how I did, some of the main talking points from my team, and then having a look at your questions and key talking points going into Game Week 23. So we'll just jump straight into how I did in Game Week 22. It's quite nice to talk about this because I actually had a pretty good week for the first time in a little while, and quite a big overall rank boost from about 55k to 43, so up about 12,000 places. Not getting too ahead of myself because this happened a few weeks ago and then I went straight back down the week after, so that could easily happen again. But 70 points bring me up to a total of 1,343. Let's start at the back. Always trusted Fabianski. Obviously that's not true. I got very frustrated with him, bought him in, didn't do anything after he'd been doing so well for other people. Looked like he might be able to continue that, getting saves and stuff, even when not getting clean sheets, and it just didn't happen. And then Arsenal, I mean, my weekend couldn't have started any better. I was worried about Aubameyang. He blanked. My goalkeeper in that match gets 9 points. And I was at a wedding fair where I found a guy that could put my logo for Let's Talk FPL on a cake. So all in all, it was a good start to Saturday. So enjoyed Fabianski's 9 points. Look, I got points from Kane, which is great. But once again, Lucas Dean beats him. Assist and bonus. Kane gets no bonus and a yellow card. So it's good to finally get returns from Kane, but obviously it was just me being trying to be too clever by going Kane over Lucas Dean at the time. There was no real reasons to do it. My argument was potential goal threat from corners, and to be fair, he did hit the bar in the game at the weekend, and that he looked better for bonus. But although I looked at previous stats for kind of like the previous 4 to 6 games, and he was doing slightly better than Lucas Dean on bonus, it's been nothing like that since. So I completely got that wrong. So I'll be looking forward to getting rid of Michael Keane at this point. Wan-Bissaka bonus hero. So got to talk about this because he got 3 bonus points in a 2-1 loss. So obviously he only had 1 point, and then 3 for bonus brings him up to 4, which basically already makes him an FPL hero. And he's only just over halfway through his first proper season in FPL. Obviously started at 4 million. I'm surprised to see a little a lack of moaning about this because I think if it was any other defender that wasn't well owned, people would be complaining about this. I mean, I don't really care about the bonus point system. I think it's fine. Probably could use a little bit of tweaking here and there, but it's not the end of the world. And I quite like that someone got bonus points even though they lost. It showed that they were doing something good in that team, or at least doing something good for the bonus points. So he's now got hero status. Hazard troll, that's kind of tongue-in-cheek because people always call him a troll, even though he's pretty regularly got points this season. And he's done it again. Yes, it was only an assist, and Pedro outscored him, and Willian as well, for obviously less money. But Hazard, we got penalties. We know he's going to play. They could bring in a striker, which moves him back to the left, which means one of Pedro or Willian would miss out. But you know Hazard's going to play. I don't know if he's necessarily worth the money over them right now, or over lots of other midfielders. But transfers are quite precious at the moment because of the blanks and double game weeks coming up, so I don't really want to ship him. And he's got Arsenal next, and to be honest, I'm not that concerned about owning him for that game. I've seen him before cause problems for Arsenal. No reason why that couldn't happen again. Mr. Reliable Salah, got Salah in the transfer I did, just in case anyone didn't see it, was Kane, which obviously looks really lucky now because he's out injured, but it was Kane and Felipe Anderson out who did nothing for Salah in to captain him. He was the one I wanted to captain. He was my highest scorer this week. And Rashford, and there was a little thing in my mind about he could possibly beat Kane this week and maybe going forward for a lot less money, and it happened, albeit most of that was down to David De Gea because he did save quite a few of Kane's shots. But lovely finish by Rashford, obviously accompanied by an assist from Pogba, so really enjoyed that one. And just a little shout out to Sané for 8 points, just 1 assist but 2 bonus points. Could have had more. I think he on the eye test actually made quite a few good runs, wasn't necessarily picked out. And obviously he had that really good chance where the ball came into him in the box and he just completely fluffed it. On another day, you'd hope that he would hit the target. So I was quite happy on the eye test with Sané, and obviously to come away with 8 points was really nice. So overall, really happy with my week. 70 points, up to 43k. Hopefully we can push on from here. I feel like I've been saying that for weeks now. It's been a bit up and down, not really moving many places, but we're getting into the business end of the season now, so fingers crossed that will change. So looking ahead to Game Week 23, we'll go through your questions, key talking points, and other key things going into the week, or things that have happened so far between Game Week 22 and 23, before looking at kind of captaincy and what I plan to do with my team. Obviously, you can see my team on the screen as normal. So the first thing to talk about is early transfers. So this week has really shown you why, if you can, you should probably hold on transfers until the end of the week once you've seen press conferences and stuff like that. Obviously, Kane got injured. and went off. He did walk off the pitch at Man United, but it didn't look good. He was shaking his head. There was lots of rumours in the papers and stuff that he was going to be out, and it's been confirmed now that he will be out until, he actually said March, until he'll start training again. So it could be 2 weeks out. I don't know how quickly once he starts training he'll be able to play in a match. But it doesn't sound good for him. And obviously some people made transfers regardless of that, and then find out that Trent Alexander-Arnold is also injured and going to be out for a month. So some people own both of them. Obviously there's a trade-off to early transfers. We talk about this all the time. If you make the early transfer, you do boost your squad value. People do worry about players going down in price and up in price. But my personal preference is to wait until the end of the week as far as you can, and not worry about that 0.1 million here or there. If you get the right call, you get the player in that's not injured, generally, once you get most of the right players, your team and squad value will go up anyway. Yes, you might have a little bit less than other people, but chances are you haven't been screwed over by late injury news that maybe you didn't know at the time. So look, it sucks to be a Kane and a Trent owner right now, but obviously in Kane's particular case, you got a lot of money to play with. So actually, I think I reckon a lot of Kane owners, you can let me know in the comments below, are actually obviously not happy he's injured, but for their FPL teams, a little bit happy they get to spread those funds, because a lot of us, or some of us, had made the choice to go without him. So I would have actually liked to see that competition between having Rashford versus Kane. For a lot of people that didn't own Rashford but had Kane, how well could he do for like 5 million less? And now we don't get that, and they get to sell him and spread those funds about. So it makes it a little bit more boring, I think, that injury. But we'll talk about replacements in a sec. The other thing is early wildcards, and I put again in brackets because I feel like this is going to keep getting asked until the end of the season, or at least until the double game weeks. It's tough to give an exact answer on wildcards because I can't look at everyone's individual teams before I say yes or no to a wildcard. Would I wildcard, would I not? The general rule for me is you would have to have a completely awful team. We're talking 4, 5, 6 maybe red flags. Maybe you've got absolutely none of the players that are currently doing well. And yes, maybe you could look at wildcarding and really plan and be organised for the blanks and double game weeks. But generally, I think if you've only got 2 or 3 flags, you can take a hit or two. Obviously, you can bench players as well. You don't necessarily have to get rid of them straight away. Depends who they are and who you could bring in. But the wildcard is really valuable at this time of the season, coupled with things like free hit, bench boost and stuff like that. The blanks and the double game weeks, they are tricky to navigate. And things like wildcards make them much, much easier. So I'm not going to keep answering this because I will almost never change my tune on it, and a lot of FPL managers won't. You'll hear this all the time. If you absolutely need it, you think you really need it, then sure, go for it. It's your team. You can still plan around blanks and doubles. Might be a little bit more tricky. You might have to be a little bit more on the ball, maybe even get a little bit more luck when it comes to injuries and stuff like that, and how the fixtures actually end up falling. So it can be done, but generally you will find it much easier if you keep it. So that's about it for early wildcards. Kane replacements, there is loads. Obviously, he's the most expensive striker in the game, so you can basically downgrade him to anyone. A lot of people looking straight to like the likes of Aubameyang and Aguero because they're similarly priced. Aubameyang's an interesting one. So I looked at the last 4 weeks. He's had the most big chances. We know from watching him that he gets a lot of chances. Doesn't necessarily convert them all. Had a high conversion earlier in the season that has dropped. Probably to be a little bit expected, but he's still getting a lot of big chances, and his home record's really good. Now that Chelsea game at home, I actually think could be goals in that for both teams. I don't know how to call that one. Sometimes these games are tight, but I'm not so sure it's going to be. Arsenal not really good in defence. Chelsea have done okay, and Sarri thinks they're better defensively when Hazard plays as false 9, which he has been. So they might do okay in defence. But I think there could be goals in that one. And then he's got a home game against Cardiff, so I don't think Aubameyang is necessarily the worst choice, but I do. Although I think the Chelsea game could go either way, it could be a good game for goals. It does. You're bringing someone in basically that's got Chelsea and Man City in the next 3 fixtures, and I'm not sure that Cardiff at home game is good enough to warrant bringing him in. So he does get a lot of chances. The other, not that he's a bad option, but I just think there may be better options to go for. It depends how you want to set up your squad structure. The good thing about having Aubameyang in is you keep that structure to your squad, that when you want to switch to another premium striker, you've already got all the money tied up there, so you can spread it out. The other option is going much, much cheaper, someone like Rashford, and to be honest, I think most people would find it hard to argue against him right now. He looks like the first choice number 9. That could change, of course, but right now it is him. Lukaku is not getting a game. Even if Lukaku plays, there's every chance that Rashford still starts on the wing. In the last 4 weeks, most goal attempts, most on targets. This is for forwards. Only second to Mitrovic for shots in the box. So he's right up there for underlying stats. And he has Brighton at home, Burnley at home, Leicester away and Fulham away. Now, they're not the best defences to play against necessarily. But in the form Man United are in, 6 wins on the bounce. That Spurs win is a massive confidence booster. That was billed as the big test. And obviously, David De Gea had to come to the rescue a lot. But that's a big win. And now there's 2 games at Old Trafford. He's 7.4 million. He's probably going to rise by the time you watch this video. For me, he is the number 1 target, I think. I wouldn't call him essential. I just think for his price, his fixtures, Man United's form, his confidence under Solskjaer, his finishing ability, and it's not just his boosting confidence and his boosting form, it's the whole Man United team, Pogba included, was a great assist against Spurs. So Rashford looks almost like a no-brainer to me. And the other thing you could do as well is maybe even look at going to 3-5-2. That's what I'm on at the moment. I've got Rashford and Jimenez. Not the only other striker. Obviously, Aubameyang is definitely a consideration. But I quite like the look of Firmino in the last 4 weeks, highest for expected goals and second for shots on target. So stats-wise, doing pretty good. From the eye test, I'm still not 100% on him. I think he has improved from the start of the season. Did look... honestly, I can't even put my finger on what the problem was at the start of the season. Salah was playing a bit more central maybe than last season, so maybe he got in his way. He just looked tired and just not on the ball for the first half of the season, but definitely been better. For his price, I'm still not completely convinced by him, but Liverpool have Palace at home, Leicester at home, West Ham away and Bournemouth at home. So they look like pretty nice fixtures to bring him in for. So he could be an option. Obviously, you save a bit of money as well compared to Aubameyang. And if you want to go for the double up, obviously Trent Alexander-Arnold is out now. So that makes the defensive double up a little less appealing. So maybe Mane or Firmino for Liverpool could be a good shout. I still think Rashford is just ahead of him, and I think a lot of people would agree on that. But Firmino definitely good for expected goals. So the goals should come with those fixtures. Looking at other players, I mean, Llorente, obviously, we don't know exactly how Spurs are going to set up. If Son was around, I would expect him to play up front. But Llorente could come in. But, I mean, I just don't think that's a player you have to go for. I think that's a bit of a punt too far, even with the fixtures. No guarantee he plays. They could set up with someone else up front and play in a style like they do when Son plays up front. The only other ones are obviously Aguero and Jesus, but I think they're going to share game time. They've probably got a blank in game week 27 because you don't know which one's going to start. Obviously, Jesus has been in really good form, which may make Aguero miss more minutes. I still think Aguero is the number 1 there, but it's just too much of an unknown. And I still think the value is in Sterling, Sané, maybe even De Bruyne soon if he gets a run of games. So for me, Aguero and Jesus are just out. So it's Rashford, Firmino, and Aubameyang for me. I just think for the price and the fixtures and the form, Rashford just ticks all the boxes, and it's hard to look against him. But nothing wrong with Firmino and Aubameyang as well. Trent alternatives, so these are really the 2 big talking points. So it's either Trent alternatives, and I've called it that instead of replacements because I don't think necessarily people were looking at bringing Kane in. But with Trent, I was looking at bringing them in, and either you were looking at doing that or maybe you were looking to sell him if you didn't own. There obviously will be people that were just ignoring him. But first thing is, how does it affect Liverpool defence? Obviously, they've let Klein go on loan. Gomez is out injured. I'm not sure when he's going to be back, so Milner could play there. Incidentally, that would take Mo Salah most likely off penalties, which would be a bit of a problem considering at the moment that's all he does is score penalties. But we'll worry about that when it comes to it. So obviously, Robertson is the no-brainer call here. I'm not going to go into too much details about why that is. He's one of the top. I think he's the top scoring defender, or if not second. Great fixtures, Liverpool great defence, and if you've got the money, he seems like a no-brainer. If you look at the players similarly priced. You got Luke Shaw, who I put a shout out for. Obviously got the same fixtures as Rashford, just kept 2 clean sheets in a row now. Brighton at home, Burnley at home next. Not sure he's got as much attacking threat as the likes of Lucas Dean or even Van Aanholt, but I think there is clean sheets for Man United in the next 4, and he could pop up with a few bonus here and there. And the fullbacks for Man United are being asked to bomb on a bit, but I just don't think he's got necessarily the creativity that the likes of Lucas Dean do. So it would be a bit of a punt, maybe a triple up on Man United. Who would have thought we'd be talking about that 5 or 6 weeks ago? But you could triple up on Man United if you've got Pogba and Rashford, double up, or just maybe that he'll be your only United player. But he's one to consider. Obviously, you've got Doherty. as well. I think Wolves, though, just a lack of clean sheets, and yes, he's got attacking threat, but I just don't know if I'd bring him in at his current price. I don't know if he's absolutely essential. Otherwise, the two that kind of stand out for me are Lucas Digne still. Obviously, I spoke about having Kane. His attacking threat is extremely good on set pieces. And also, I looked, Everton, a few people pointed this out to me on the stream, and I've looked at the stats as well. So they've got Southampton away, Huddersfield away, Wolves at home, and Watford away. That's what Everton's next 4 are. Now, quite a few away fixtures, which would usually put me off. But when I looked at Everton's away stats, now, this is over the whole season, so I'm not sure how they compare maybe from the start of the season to now. But looking at the whole season away, they're the 4th best defence when it comes to total shots conceded. Only 9 more than Liverpool, and they're 5th best for shots in the box, and Wolves are just a bit better than them. So they're not that bad away from home, and obviously with this creativity, I wonder if Lucas Digne's straight swap is the one to go for, especially if you've already got a Liverpool defender. And if you want a bit of a differential, and I know this one won't go down too well because it's Liverpool away next, and obviously a lot of people have got Wan-Bissaka, but Van Aanholt has had 7 chances created in the last 4, so I think that's top for defenders. And he's had 9 goal attempts, which is definitely top, and 5 in the box as well. So he's right up there for attacking threat recently. And after Liverpool, it's Southampton away, Fulham at home, and West Ham at home. So I know if you've got Wan-Bissaka, it's a tough one because you probably don't want to double up on Palace defence, which means you'd have to bench Wan-Bissaka, who, when they get a clean sheet, is absolutely fantastic for bonus. So it is tough to do that. But Van Aanholt is a cheeky differential. I think there could be attacking returns coming for him soon with those fixtures. Liverpool a tough one for sure, but after that could be decent. So for Trent replacements for me, I'll probably look towards someone like Lucas Digne or Luke Shaw if you want to, or Luke Shaw or Van Aanholt if you want a little bit of a punt. There's Ricardo Pereira at Leicester, but their fixtures turn around game week 27, so I'm not sure about bringing him in right now. But he's been really good all season, so he's one to look at as well. Still talking about Alonso, still people talking about getting rid. I mean, in the stream I did on Monday, it was like 90% it's time to get rid, and I'm probably going to keep him, and the main reason is because of Trent's injury. So for my personal team, I can afford to do Kane to Robertson, so I get the Liverpool defender and I get to keep Alonso, who has Bournemouth and Huddersfield after Arsenal, and I got good memories of him scoring against Arsenal last year as well. But the main reason is transfers are quite precious around this time because of the blanks and double game week. So I could do him to Robertson and keep Kane, but I just don't think Keane's going to do enough. Yes, they could get clean sheets in those fixtures I talked about for Lucas Digne, but the attacking threat is just not there like Lucas Digne. So if they're not getting attacking returns, he hasn't. Or sorry, if they're not getting the defensive returns, he hasn't necessarily got the attacking returns to back it up. So I'm possibly looking at getting rid of him straight to Robertson and keeping Alonso. And the other reason is we'll know a lot more next week about the first lot of kind of blanks and stuff, because the League Cup and the FA Cup I think both get played the next round. And there is a chance, albeit a very small chance according to Ben Crellin on Twitter, that if Chelsea could turn it around and beat Spurs, bearing in mind Spurs have got Sissoko, Kane and Son out now, so there is a possibility they could turn it around. It's not a big margin. There is a small chance they could get a double game week in game week 25. Now I will say it is not 100% confirmed. It's very unlikely, but it could happen. And if that happens and I've already got Alonso and Hazard in my team, then I'm absolutely laughing. So the Trent injury has kind of helped me calm down a bit. I was going to take a hit, Keane and Alonso, to Trent and Robertson just to get my 2 Liverpool defenders in. I'm probably just going to do Keane to Robertson now and keep Alonso. Now, I've said for weeks about Alonso, he's not got the attacking threat there. It really has gone downhill. Obviously, they're not getting necessarily as many clean sheets as we'd like either. So I do think for his price, he's sellable. And I still think that this week with Arsenal away. But for my personal team, I'm going to keep him. But yeah, I definitely think that we can stop talking about Alonso. He's not essential or anything right now. Stop having the fear about him. If you need to swap into Robertson, people obviously tweeting that they've scored. The people are saying Robertson's essential and Alonso's not, but they've scored the same amount of points. But forget about what points they've scored. Alonso got a lot at the start of the season. It's about what they're going to get going forward. And Liverpool's defence still looks really good. You can almost guarantee clean sheets for them. Robertson's excellent for bonus, and they got the fixtures as well ahead of Chelsea over the kind of medium term. So for me, Robertson does look like the one to get. Is bench less essential? To just touch on this quickly, someone asked me, is the bench less essential now we're past Christmas? I mean, I think the good thing about having a good bench is you've got options to play if players get injured or maybe your first 11 doesn't have good fixtures. And also, you will get injuries and players getting rested and stuff. So your bench is not necessarily less essential. I get the idea that maybe you don't need a full playing bench, but I mean, I only really expected to ever use 2 at most over Christmas, so I don't expect that to change now. So I think the same thing with the bench, really, as I did over Christmas. Sure, if you've got a spare transfer, and when I mean spare, I mean you're going to burn one, then maybe use it on your bench, but I wouldn't target that specifically. If you've got players on your bench that are going to play, just leave it. Transfers at this time of the season are super precious, and I wouldn't make any additional transfers than you absolutely have to. The blank and double spread, like I said, we're going to know more next week. There's not a whole lot you can do now other than try and conserve transfers where you can, but my focus is going to be trying not to fully fixate on these, because we do tend to talk about them a lot and we forget about players that can score points running up to the blanks and double game week, so I'm trying not to do that. So start prepping, following people like Ben Crellin on Twitter. They're really good for letting you know what's going on. And then coming up to the end, looking at captaincy, I mean, the top 6 teams have all got pretty good fixtures. I mean, Arsenal and Chelsea play each other. I don't think you can really justify too much captain a player in that. I mean, you'd expect Aubameyang, I suppose, to get chances at home, so he could do well. I don't think you're ever going to captain a player in that fixture when the other teams have got really good fixtures. So for me, the standout is going to be Salah this week. He's been so consistent, even though he's been getting a lot of penalties. I think he missed a pretty good chance at the weekend and should have had a couple of assists as well. So he's the standout as normal. Not too much to say about him. I think you've got to look at Man United players at the moment. The only thing that puts me off is, do you go for Pogba or do you go for Rashford? It's a tough call because Rashford's getting plenty of shots away, but Pogba looked really dangerous against Spurs, had a good few chances, and he's got assist potential as well. So I'm just not sure who I'd go there, and that would almost put me off picking the wrong one. But I do think, Brighton maybe don't concede many goals, but you'd back Man United to score in that game maybe 2 or 3 times, at least twice. And Pogba and Rashford will probably be involved. So I think that they've got to be good captain options, and then almost be differentials, because most people go for Salah. So maybe if you're really trying to chase, you're really, really low down the ranks, you could look at a Man United player potentially. I wouldn't write Man City off against Huddersfield. Huddersfield can be tight, but change of manager and Man City's current form, I would just definitely back them. Again, though, you've got the same thing as Man United, who, I guess if you've only got one Man City player like me, you just captain them. But I think you've got to look at Sané and Sterling this week. Both good options against that Huddersfield team. I think Man City will score another 3, maybe 4 goals. They scored 6 past them earlier in the season, but obviously that was at home. But I can see a big score there. Spurs, I think you've got to avoid because you just don't know who's going to play. You'd imagine Eriksen and Ali will play, but I'm just not sure they're captainable when you've got the likes of Man United and Liverpool options. Ali's been pretty good when Kane's been out of the team and kind of standing up. And he's even spoken about it before, that when Kane's out, he has to step up to score more. But we just don't know how they're going to line up. And I'm not sure how many of those games were with Son at the helm instead of Kane. So if they're both missing, I do worry about them a bit more. Llorente, to be fair to him, was pretty good against Man United and did win a lot of balls and kind of held the ball up quite well. So he could play players like Ali in, but for me, it's a little bit of a risk too far. So the standout is obviously Salah. I mean, don't really need to talk about that. But I think Man United definitely worth a shout this week. And Man City too. I really wouldn't write them off. But the safe pick is Salah for sure. And maybe an outside chance on Aubameyang against Chelsea. I do think that game could be quite open. My plan's pretty simple. Kane to Robertson. I can do that in one free transfer. I'll probably stick there. I think my team looks really nice, especially in attack. Alonso against Arsenal, not too sure about that, but happy enough to play him. And then if I've got Robertson as well, I've got the core team that I really like. So looking pretty good. I mean, Hazard will not be my vice captain. That'll be one of the Man United players, or Sané. But Salah captain for sure. So that's me. I don't see me changing those transfers very much at all. Would like Lucas Dean or Luke Shaw in as well, but I'm not going to spend a hit to get them in when I've got Alonso playing. Who knows? Maybe he'll score a goal like he always used to. So I'm going to leave it there. Leave a comment below. Let me know what I've said is absolute rubbish, whether you agree with it, any questions you've got. It'd be always good to hear your opinions. Leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it. Much appreciated as always. And subscribe if you're new around here. My next stream will be at 9:30 PM on Thursday if you want to tune in for that. We'll go through all your questions and talk about Game Week 23. Maybe we've got an even bigger news than just Rashford and Kane by that point. Otherwise, I'll leave it there. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Thanks as always for watching. See you later.